Assalamu alaikum class, hope you are fine and doing well. So in our previous class we have discussed about the linguistics in general, what is linguistics, how it is scientific study of the language, why it differs and how it differs from the general science. And we have also discussed about the branches of the linguistics in general, like what is phonology, like what is phonetics, morphology, sociolinguistics, stylistics, pragmatics and semantic syntax as well. So today we will discuss about our module as it is entitled as morphology. What is morphology? First of all, we have to see the word morphology in general. If we observe the etymology or the history of this word, as each and everything has its etymology, its history, if it is very peculiar or it is very significant to the language, that each and every language has its history, its etymology, means where it originates, how it starts, how it begins, what are the consequences of its the origination, and what are the results and what are the reasons of a language origination. So, if we look or if we observe the history of the word morphology, it is taken from the Greek. It is given by the Greek language. For instance, like morph. Morph means a shape, form, and a form and shape of something. And morphology is the study of the form or forms. So it is the study of the forms of things, means how certain objects are being organized, or how they are formed, how they are given a proper shape. So in particular, so a particular form or a particular shape or a structure of any object, of anything and an organism is known as the morphology, means it is the related to the form, to the shape, to the size, or to the formation of something or some object. If we look the example, or if we have or if we take the example from the science field, in for instance in biology, morphology refers or morphology indicates or known as the study of the form and structure of the organisms. But if we observe the word morphology in the field of linguistics, in the field of the language, that morphology, it is the study of the internal structure of the words, means how words are originated, how words are formed, how words and expressions or signs are shaped internally, means how a word, like for instance the word of, how it is originated, how it is formed, how many different sounds related with it, how many morphemes or phonemes related with this words, how individual words are or individual sounds are combined and grouped to make or to shape a general word or a proper word. Like morphology is the study of the internal structure of the words. Internal structure over here means that how individual sounds are grouped, how they are combined, how they are structured in order to form or in order to shape or a form a proper or a significant word. For instance, the word laptop, how it is originated, how it is formed, how many sounds are over there in the laptop, l, and p, for so on and so forth. So morphology studies that how the words are formed, how our expressions, how our language is formed, how human sounds are formed in a proper words. So morphology is the study of words, whereas phonology and phonetics studies or observes the study of the sounds, but morphology studies of the words, our language expressions. As we take the example of the phoneme, like p, b, t, t, d, in phonetics and phonology, the same cases with the in the field of the morphology, that there are certain morphemes in each and every language. What are the morphemes? Morphemes are the minimal units of words, rather than sounds. These are the minimal units of words that have a meaning and cannot be subdivided further. Means it is a very smallest unit of words. Morphemes are the smallest units of words which cannot be further break and cannot be further broken and subdivided. So, a meaningful morphological unit of a language that cannot be further divided. It is known as the morphemes. For instance, the word in, come, ing. It is a progressive form, means forming, in, coming. Now see these three bound morphemes or sometimes independent morpheme combined or grouped in one word is incoming. If we break the word incoming, then we have in three morphemes, meaningful, significant morphemes like in, come, and ing. Now observe that in these three morphemes, come is the independent and it is a free morpheme because it can exist on its own. But the two morphemes like in and ing is bound morpheme related to the bound morphemes. So we can say that these are the minimal units of the sound which cannot be further divided, means in cannot be further divided, ing cannot be further divided, come cannot be further divided. So, after elaboration or briefly the concept of the morphology, will again repeat it. Like morphology is the study of the word formation. If we take the example of the linguistics or language examples, then it is the study of the internal structures of the words. Means how an independent or how an individual word is formed, how expressions are formed, how different independent sounds are grouped and combined to make a significant or make a clear word. If we will take the example of the phoneme, then we need to be discuss sounds, but when we talk about the morpheme, then it is they are the units of the meanings. We discussed about the study of the meaning. So morphology is the study of the internal structure of the words, how different individual words are taken to form a one independent word. So, moving on, there is another thing in the field of the morphology. They are the affixes. Means what are the term? What is the term affix, or what are the terms of the affixes? So, a word which is used in order to add something to the base form or stem of a word, it is used to modify its meaning or create or make a new word. For example, like and unlike, competent and incompetent. So in this slide, you will see the two words like base form or the stem. What is the base form? Base form is meaning is that the root word. For instance, the book. Book is a root word. Pen is the root word, means they are independent, they are individual, they are free, they are not bound, they are free morphemes. Stem, what is a stem? It will be discussed in the earlier slides, means coming in coming slides. So the word like and unlike, for instance, like is an independent, is a base form, but when we add un as a prefix with the like, it is called, it's changed its meaning. Like it's the positive sign and unlike is the negative sign. Like competent and incompetent, means when we make negation, we add un and in, im. So like, unlike, incompetent, then there are other examples like success and successful, self and selfish, boyish, anyone. Now see the word selfish, it can be broken as the self and ish. Ish is the suffix because it comes at the end of the independent on the root word. So affixation in English morphology, we have to see that what is the process of the affixation in English morphology, means how different affixes like prefix, suffixes, circumfixes, infixes, what's their role in English language and English morphology especially. So an affix is a word which is attached to a root or a stem that gives a words a different meaning. Root is a base form and stem when we add something, means like prefixes or suffixes with the root word, means when we add some words little bit minimal units of the meanings with a free morpheme at the initial position and the final position and sometime in the middle position, it is known as the stem. So an affix literally fixes itself to a root word or a stem word. An affix changes the meanings of a word. For instance, in our previous slide, we have seen that successful and unsuccessful. Successful is the positive sign, means someone is successful person. But if we say that he is unsuccessful, means he is not successful. So these brief minimal units of meaning, which are sometime in the initial position and sometime at the final position, they change the meanings of the root word. But these sort of morphemes are attached to a root word. When they are attached to a root word, it is known as the stem. So again, as I have earlier discussed that in coming slides we will discuss in comprehensively about the concept of the root and the stem. So what is a root? Root word is the basic form word which I have known, or which I am giving the name to a free word, to a root word, to a lexical entry, independent word with no affixes. For example, the word cat, it is free word, it is basic word, it is base form. The like pen, because it is the individual word, independent word, so board, so on and so forth. So a root is the part of a word that cannot be changed. Cat cannot be further divided. It can be divided as the discreteness in the sounds, like we can say that k, and t phonetically, but morphologically it cannot be further divided. It is a root word, and when added to creates different forms of the word, it does not change. It will remain same. Cat will remain same. Pen will remain same. Board will remain same until or unless we do not attach the prefixes or suffixes with these words. So, the other example, eat. Eat is a root and can be changed in many ways. Eating, eaten, eater, and eats. Now, see, eat is an independent word. It is a individual word, basic word, root word, but it can change its meaning with the help of the affixation process. What is the affixation process? When we add some words or some morphemes in the starting position, like in, im, on, and sometime at the final position, like ish means boyish, selfish, girlish, so on and so forth. For instance, ing with attaching with the eating, its meaning, like its continuity. Eaten, it is the time, which is the past. It shows the time. Eater, the person who eats something. Eats, then again it's the present form. S indicates the present form of the eat. So eat is a root word, basic word, but it can change with the fixation process, like prefixes and suffixes. So we will never have a word related to eating where the eat part gets changed. So it is a root. So all roots are bases बिकॉज दे आर स्मॉलेस्ट चंक, मीन्स कि सभी जो इंडिपेंडेंट वर्ड्स हैं, सभी बेसिक फॉर्म्स जो हैं वो आपकी रूट्स हैं, वो आपकी बेसिस आपके पास होती हैं लिंग्विस्टिकली। हम उनके साथ सिर्फ कुछ लफ्ज़ उनके शुरू में रखते हैं और कुछ साउंड आवाज़ें या मॉर्फीम जो हैं हम उनके एंड पे रखते हैं। सो मल्टीपल मेरे मुंह से ये निकल रहा है कि मैं समटाइम कह रही हूँ कि साउंड, समटाइम मैं मॉर्फीम कह रही हूँ, तो मैं आपको क्लियर कर दूँ कि there are two concepts, one is in phonetics and phonology and one is in the morphology. When we talk about phoneme, then it will be discussed in the field of the phonetics and phonology as the minimal unit of the sound, but when we talk about the morpheme, like bound morpheme, pre-morpheme, independent morpheme, so on and so forth, it will be discussed in the field of the morphology, because it is the minimal unit of the meaning which cannot be further sub. So after defining the root is a free word, it can exist on its own. And stem, what is stem? Stem is the part where grammatical inflectional affixes are added. For example, the word add. Now see, the unbold word add is working over here as a root, but when we add ed as a suffix, it is called its stem. So, in other example, unscrewed. Now see, un and ed are the un is used over here as a prefix, ed is used over here as a suffix at the end or final position of the screw. And screw is the free word, its root word. Now, it is clear that when we attach prefixes or suffixes with the root word, it is known as the stem. So stems are just bases when you are talking about inflectional change. What is inflectional change? Inflectional change means when we change in time, in tense, in like present time, past time, future time. For instance, ing is a present progressive form. Ed is the present past participle. S is the present tense. It's the present time. It shows present time. It is known the inflectional change, inflectional morphology, which we will discuss. It is a proper discipline in the morphology, and it will be discussed in our further classes. So, a stem is the form of a word that inflectional get added on to. Most of the time, this will be the root stem. Most of the time, it will be root. But for instance, as eat, it is the root and it is stem as well. But it is the form that all the inflectional or grammar affecting changes gets added to when you add ing for eating. Someone is in the activity which is continuous to it, so it turns into a progressive verb or a gerund or present participle. En turns its perfect. S makes it a plural noun or makes it agree with a singular subject. Means whenever we will use a singular subject, then it is compulsory and it is natural to take the singular verb. Clear? When we have the plural object, we need to be give the plural verb. So it is called the subject verb agreement. So S over here, one sense shows the plurality and singularity, and in other sense it also shows the present time framework. So there are some common features of root and stem. Like base is every form to which an affix can be added. Therefore, all roots and stems are bases. For instance, unreliability. If we do not add the word the morpheme un with reliability or reliable, okay, then the reliable is working over here as a stem and root as well. But when we use reliability, ity and un at the starting position, then these un and ity will be over here work over here as the stem. So unremovable. Clear? मीन्स बताने का मकसद ये है कि हमारे पास स्टेम और रूट समटाइम सेम मीनिंग्स रखती हैं, सेम फंक्शन परफॉर्म करती हैं. इसमें अंदर डिफरेंस जस्ट इतना है कि जब हम किसी रूट वर्ड के साथ, जैसे कि हमारे पास रिलायबल है, रिमूव है, इनके साथ जब हम इनकी स्टार्टिंग पोजीशन और एंड पोजीशन पर हम कुछ प्रीफिक्सेस और सफिक्सेस रख देते हैं तो ये तब स्टेम्स बन जाते हैं. और अगर हम इनको सिंपली रिमूव, आई रिमूव द डस्ट, clear, he is reliable, yes, sorry, it is reliable. Now see, the reliable, the word remove over here now as a stem and root as well, but when we add un with reliable, it will be stem from to a root word. Likewise and remove. Clear? So after discussing about the general concept about the what is morphology, first of all, in general means in science, in every in our natural life, or in linguistic, how it does mean, or our main concern to discuss morphology, to understand the sense of the morphology in linguistic is very crucial, is very significant and important. So morphology is the internal study, it studies the internal structure of the words rather than sounds, rather than sentences. It just only studies the internal structure of the words. So moving on, there are certain examples like we have some morphemes like bound morphemes, like free morpheme, like in negation, like in positivity. Then we discussed the concept of the root and stem. What is the difference between root word and what is the difference between the stem? Root is a free word. It can exist on its own base form, and stem is the same root and the base form. But when we attached few prefixes or infixes in the start position, few words in the starting position or few words in the final position with a free word with a base or root word, it is known, the same word is known as stem. Then we have discussed about the process of the fixation. What is the affixes? Affixes. Now we have to see the affixes and it's the types of the affixes. Affixes are those words which can be added in the start position or in the end position of a final or a basic or the central or a root word or independent word. So there are certain types of affixes. What are the types of the affixes we have to discuss over here? So there are three types or three kinds of the affixes. One is prefixes, the other is suffixes, and third one is the infix. Prefixes are those words which come start of the position in the beginning of a word. Why they are put over in the starting position or in the beginning position? They are used in order to adjust or qualify its meaning. For example, D, non, and re. These are the affixes. Play and replay. Clear? Standard and non-standard. Motivate and demotivate. Clear? The words which are in the beginning position with the root word, they are known as the prefix. Then a suffix. What is a suffix? A suffix is an element which is placed at the end of a word to form a derivative such as action and fy and ing. Frequently on that converts the stem into an other parts of speech. For instance, play and playing. Clear? Modify. Okay? Modify, modified, so on and so forth. The words which are in the final position at the end of the word to form a derivative such as action, ition, phi, and I. So an infix is placed within a word. These are the rare in English. Though cupful can be made plural as cups full. We can add s in the middle of the cup full in cups full by inserting the plural s as an infix. Infixes sometimes occur in factious creations like abso, absolutely कब हम क्या कह रहे हैं कि absolutely. So it is very rare case that infixes are in English morphology, but they can be in few terminologies, in few words, in few expressions. We can use infixes. Most of the time in English morphology, we use prefixes and suffixes. So uh, after discussing these things, there is a difference between morpheme and word. So we have to take the idea how a word is different from a morpheme and how a morpheme is different of word and why they are different with each other. So a morpheme is the smallest minimal unit of the meaning, grammatical unit in a language. A morpheme is not identical to a word, and the principal difference between the two is that a morpheme may or may not stand alone, whereas a word, by its definition, is freestanding. For instance, the word happy. It's a free morpheme. It does not need to take further expressions, further morphemes to clear its meaning. It is and it can exist on its own. For instance, further, if we give the example, the word we use as ly as a suffix, then ly as a bound morpheme. It gives sense, it gives meanings like it adds something in the meaning of the happy, but it is dependent until or unless we do not attach the word happy with ly, it does not clear its meanings, whereas happy clears its meaning in the context, in each and every situation. So this is the difference between the morpheme and the word, that morphemes cannot stand on their own, cannot exist on their own. They need to clear their meanings with the attaching or by the process of the attaching with the free morpheme or the root word. So there are two types of morphemes. There are one morpheme is a free and the other is a bound. So what are the free morphemes? Free morphemes can occur alone and on its own, as we have discussed in the previous slide that the word happy is a free morpheme. It's an independent morpheme and it can exist and it can occur and stand alone and on its own. But what are the bound morphemes? They cannot be exist on their own. They need to clear their meaning with the attachment of the free morphemes. So bound morphemes must occur with an other morpheme. For instance, the analogy means the example of a free morpheme is bad, effect, and an example of a bound morpheme is li, bad and badly, effect and effects. Clear? There are two words like bad. Bad is an independent word. It can clear its meaning. It clears its meaning. Its logic. Its reason. Why? What does we mean? What do we mean by bad? And like the same cases with the effect. What is the effect? Effect means the influence of something, the impression of something. But the word li and s work over here as bound morpheme. Li is ly is used with badly. Effect s is used with the effects. So it's a bound because although it has meaning, it cannot stand alone. It does not mean that the bound morpheme has no meanings. No, it is wrong. They have their meaning, but they are bound to attached with the free morpheme. They clear their meanings more significantly with the attachment of the free morphemes. So it must be attached to another morpheme to produce a word, to organize a word, to articulate a word, to form a word. Free morpheme कौन सी है? Bad. And bound morpheme कौन सी है? So it is all about this lecture that we may sum up that the morphology is the formation of the words. It studies the internal structure of the words, how different words or how individual words are combined with the help of taking different by combining or compounding by the different sounds. How a word is formed, how a word is originated, how a word is created, how a word is originated. And after discussing about the nature of the morphology, there is the process of the fixation. What is the affixes? What are the affixes? Are the words which we put in the front, I mean initial start position and the final position at the end position. Then they further classified as the morphemes. Which are the morpheme? What is a morpheme? What is a word? Morpheme is the minimal unit of the meaning, a grammatical unit of the meaning which cannot be further divided. But the word is the free morpheme. It can exist on its own. It does not need to take the other words to clear its meanings. But the bound morpheme needs to clear their meanings to attach with the free morpheme. And these are the affixes. These affixes are further known as the bound morpheme and the free morpheme. And three types of the affixes like prefixes, suffixes, infixes, and sometimes there is another terminology used as a circumfixes. So we have also discussed in this lecture the crucial or the significant difference between the root and the stem. Sometimes a root is a stem and stem is a root, but when a free word is working in any context, it would be known as the root word, base form, or the stem. But when we take the example of as a with the with the combined or the jointment of the the prefixes or infixes, then the word will central word will remain the free morpheme, but the start or the end word will be known as the stem. So it is the here I give an activity that it can assist or it can help you guys to elaborate that how many different words are working over here and perform their role as an free morpheme, as an base form, or how many words are overused here with the prefixes and suffixes. So determine these given below words under the heading of free and bound morphemes like pretest, discontent, intolerable, receive, against, realize, imperative, submit, assignment, Facebook, uncommon, misinterpret, disqualified, encountered, geographic, irresistible. Now it is the task on you guys that how you can complete it in by taking this audio and the written class or in the form of the slides. You can explain these things, that how many different words are over here as a free morpheme, as an independent morpheme. Okay, guys, if you have any query, if you have any question, you may ask. Any mode of communication. I try my best to clear the concept of the morphology in today's class. Yes, there are multiple slides, and like it's and they are rich in the quantity. So I try my best to elaborate the concept of the morphology and its type of the morphology. What is the morpheme? What is the bound morpheme? Free morpheme? So if you have further any queries, you may ask. The rest of the things will be discussed in the next class with taking the new concept in the morphology. Stay blessed. Do your work sincerely. Okay, Allah Hafiz.